I do have this awesome playlist that tells us all about lore, and it's 20-25 minutes all together, and we should be caught up, right? We got those short stories, and the funny part is I've never played anything beyond Nightfall. I think I did Prophecies, Factions, and then I didn't buy Nightfall, and I didn't buy Eye of the North, and I know nothing about Guild Wars Beyond, which is just the part that links Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. And as far as I know, there's 250 years gap in the history between one part and the other. So I hope to find out what happened in there, how those two parts are linked together, and where we're going next with Jantir Wilds.
This is Tyria the World, and this is Tyria the Continent. Now, those two things would be confusing if
Okay.
anything important ever happened outside of Tyria the Continent. So whenever somebody talks about the fate of Tyria, they really kind of mean both. Thousands of years before the events of the first game, Guild Wars Prophecies, magic was powerful and rampant in Tyria. So much so that 6 elder dragons woke up to eat all of that magic. The fire dragon Primordius, the ice dragon Jormag, the undead dragon Zaitan, the crystal dragon Kralkatorrik, which crystal powers translate to lightning powers for some reason, the jungle dragon Mordramoth, and the water dragon, whose name we think is Steve. Anyways, 5 elder not dragon races rise to fight the elder dragons. The Mersat, the Seers, the Jotun, the Dwarves, and the Forgotten. The Forgotten's name is the Forgotten. It's not somebody didn't forget their name. That is their name. The Mersat, over the course of this fight, eventually decide that it's futile to keep fighting and instead learn to phase out of reality entirely. The Seers don't like this, being abandoned.
Oh, they mad.
So they get into a war with the Mersat, and the Seers lose it pretty bad. There's only a couple Seers left. The rest of the Elder races decide that the only way to really stop the Elder Dragons in the immediate is to seal all of the magic away that they're eating. This works. They seal most of the magic in the world into this item called the Bloodstone. The dragons basically starve, and then they go into hibernation. And it's totally fine, and they're never heard from again until the end of Guild Wars 1. Fast forward a couple thousand years, humans step out of the portal from...
You can tell this video is 6-year-old because Facebook was trendy back then. Yeah, they used like button from Facebook, which would have never happened today. No one cares about Facebook anymore. Yeah, that's true. But 1 second. So he said there were 5 dragons. Actually, I find it interesting that dwarves. Don't you guys feel like dwarves don't belong here? I don't know. Like, you have all those magical creatures, fucking Mursats who can transcend the realms, and you have seers who look like just poor edition of Sauron. You have those sort of oversized Vikings and shit, lizards, and then there's this dwarf named Timmy. I don't know. It's just weird, okay? But anyway.
Fast forward a couple thousand years, humans step out of portal from literally nowhere. They just show up one day with 6 gods: Duena, Melandru, Lissa, Balthazar, Abaddon, and Doom. Doom doesn't last very long. He gets killed by Duena's half-human
Doom looks awesome.
And then Abaddon tries to betray the other 5, and they kill him. So humans spread over most Tyria like the invasive species that they truly are, founding Alona, Cantha, Kryta, Or, and Ascalon. And Ascalon in particular, they take from a race of cat, antelope, Romans called the Char, and they build a big wall in Ascalon to keep them out. And every big wall, this is
oh no,
it doesn't work. It doesn't work, especially not when your enemies have access.
Well, you have to make Char pay for it.
At some point, the Seer's Bloodstone gets split into 5 pieces and spread throughout the world. The human gods say peace out and leave for no apparent reason. They still answer prayers and stuff, they're just not physically on the world anymore. One of Kralkatorrik's former champions, the dragon Glint, writes something called the Flameseeker Prophecies about a group of humans that genocide the Mersat. And then the humans inside of Kryta, Ascalon, and Or begin to create guilds to manage their commerce and other stuff. And these guilds don't like each other, and they start warring in an event called the Guild Wars that pretty much ends as soon as the first game begins, and it's never important to the plot.
Oh, okay, thanks. That's what I mean. These videos are super short. This was like just background to the entire lore of Guild Wars. I find it ironic that the whole thing is called Guild Wars and they don't matter. Although I feel like he somehow exaggerated it. I feel like Guild Wars are essential part to the story. I'm not sure how, but I can't believe that they would name the game after an event that's not significant at all. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, okay, that was cool. So we learned how, and we learned that the world was in a pure magic chaos. Okay, dragons woke up to eat that chaos up because it's magic. Dragons love magic. And then they got defeated by those fucking beings like Mursat and Seers and Timmy's fucking dwarves. And then humans showed out of nowhere and rain chaos, okay? That's what we do the best, okay? And we built the wall, okay? So maybe Trump played Guild Wars 2 in the past, and that's where he got his idea. I don't know, but this is it, basically, okay? Let's have a look at Prophecies. So Prophecies is actually the game, okay? The fucking game. So this was like before just the background of the lore. This is the actual game that I played like crazy. And again, I don't remember the lore because I didn't give a fuck back then.
Remember those magical nukes that the Char have? Yeah, that's why Ascalon is a pile of rubble now. Guild Wars Prophecy starts with the Char dropping their magical nuke on Ascalon. After getting past the largely ineffective wall, the Char push through Ascalon, taking everything but its capital, Ascalon City. They then begin to start staging assaults on Kryta and Or. And in Kryta, the Char assault is stopped by a new religious order, the White Mantle, and their powerful unseen gods. And Or pulls an Atlantis and sinks into the ocean before the Char get there. And the Ascalonian king Adalbern wants to defend Ascalon City to the death. Prince Rurik wants to ask for aid from Kryta, but that's a little controversial because the Krytan guilds and the Ascalonian guild just finished up their last war. Opting to not die terribly, you and a group of refugees follow Prince Rurik over the Shiver Peaks and into Kryta. Now to cross the mountains, you end up having to help some good dwarves defeat some evil dwarves.
Oh my god. This is not how dwarves look like.
Prince Rurik dies terribly in this anyways. When you finally get to Kryta, you find that the White Mantle has been besieged by a Lich and his undead army. They tell you that the only way to beat this undead army is by finding the Scepter of Or, which is actually a staff. After helping the White Mantle with their zombie problem and setting up an Ascalonian refugee camp, the Krytans ask you to assist in identifying some special people in a Krytan village to be sent deep into the jungle for a secret religious ceremony. Because that request isn't obviously suspicious, you help them, but your special people are stolen by a group called the Shining Blade. You follow the Shining Blade into the jungle to get the special people back, only to find out that, plot twist, the religious elves worshipping weird invisible gods are secretly evil. After stopping a White Mantle professor from sacrificing more special people on one of the 5 bloodstones, you join back up with the Shining Blade to try and find a way to defeat the White Mantle once and for all, and are approached by the Orion Vizier Kilbron. Vizier Kilbron tells you that he'll help the Shining Blade if you get him the Scepter of Or, which is still actually a staff. Because the request to retrieve an artifact of terrible power for a mage that hails from a part of the continent that just sunk underwater isn't obviously suspicious, you do this. After retrieving the scepter, actually staff, the Shining Blade headquarters is attacked by the White Mantle, and Kilbron tells you to run to the Crystal Desert and talk to a dragon, because that makes sense. You pass some forgotten trials, made by the forgotten, trials that people forgot about, and gain an audience with Glint, who tells you that the secret unseen gods of the White Mantle are actually the Mersad. She also tells you about her historical fanfiction, where a group of special people commit genocide on the Mersad and gives you a knowing wink. You return from your weird detour to attack the White Mantle again, this time gaining the aid of the dwarves and the help of a seer, who enchants you so that you can see the Mersad. Vizier Kilbron shows up out of the blue and tells you that where you really need to attack the Mersad is in their fortress on the Fire Islands, a volcanic island chain. You go there, kill the Mersad, and accidentally let loose an army of demons known as the Titans, which are also apparently the creatures that the Char worship, and the ones that gave the Char the magic nuke they dropped on Ascalon, just in case you'd forgotten about the main conflict of the first few hours of this game. In a shocking plot twist, Vizier Kilbron is actually the evil Lich Lord that wanted the Scepter of Or, actually staff, and Kryta, and is using it to control the Titans as his personal army. In an actual plot twist, he revived the corpse of Prince Rurik and makes you kill him a second time. You beat Rurik, you beat Kilbron, and you save the day. Also, the Titans kill all but a handful of the Mersad and wreak some havoc on the world, but that's not really your problem.
What the okay, what the fuck? Okay, one second, my brain exploded. Wait, let's see comments. Okay, what the fuck? Oh my god, there's too much, man, too much. I would say that the wall was highly effective. It protected Ascalon for almost 200 years, and this is why the Char moved to creating the magic nuke. Guild Wars had such a rich and eloquent world building. Still 10 times better than any lore and story in Guild Wars 2 to this day. But in any case, let's take a look at Factions, which is the last expansion. I don't think it's actually an expansion. I think Eye of the North was the actual expansion that you could buy as a separate game. These were like patches, more so, but in any case, let's take a look at Factions.
On the island empire of Cantha, a mysterious plague has begun turning people into the Afflicted, vile monsters who attack anyone they see. The heroes of Tyria are called the Kaining City, the capital of the Canthan Empire, to help find the source of the Afflicted with a monastery master and half-brother of the Emperor, Master Togo. After some investigation, you find out that an ancient warrior by the name of Shiro Tagachi has begun twisting the souls of the recently dead to invade Cantha, and whose very presence corrupts anyone nearby into Afflicted. Then you get some backstory. 200 years before the events of Factions, Shiro Tagachi was the Emperor's most trusted bodyguard. After a single encounter with a demonic fortune teller, Shiro became convinced that the Emperor was going to kill him. He decided the best possible course of action with that information was to kill the Emperor in the middle of a religious ceremony and lock himself inside the Harvest Temple. The champions of the two main vassal states to the Empire, the Luxons and the Kurziks, charged into the temple with a small army to defeat Shiro. Fortune teller, Shiro became convinced that the Emperor was going to kill him. He decided the best possible course of action with that information was to kill the Emperor in the middle of a religious ceremony and lock himself inside the Harvest Temple. The champions of the two main vassal states to the Empire, the Luxons and the Kurziks, charged into the temple with a small army to defeat Shiro. This went poorly, and only a single Luxon champion, Archemorus, and a single Kurzik champion, Victor, remained standing. A lone assassin named Vizu snuck into the temple and mortally wounded Shiro by stabbing him in the back, but she let Archemorus and Victor have the killing blow because kill stealing has always been the dick move. Shiro's death turned the Kurzik's forest to stone, and the Luxons seeded Jade in an event called the Jade Wind. Back in the present day, and in continuing with tradition, before tackling the main threat, you decide to undergo a ritual, this time to become closer to the stars. After completing this ritual, you're told to go seek the guidance of the ancestral heroes of Kantha at Tanakai Temple. You arrive at the temple to find that Shiro has already corrupted all of the ancestral spirits except for Vizu, and with Vizu's help, you drive off Shiro and free the other spirits. Vizu tells you that they are ancient artifacts that belong to Archemorus and Victor, and that they are the only way to defeat Shiro. So you leave to do some random quests to befriend the Kurziks and the Luxons that they'll give you their most holy relics, the Spear of Archemorus and the Urn of St. Victor. Now it's time to face Shiro. You track him down while he's trying to pull a giant spirit construct army through some rifts to the afterlife. You close the rifts and repeatedly throw the sacred artifacts on the ground until Shiro leaves. You actually throw them on the ground. That's a mechanic. You don't actually kill him though. And Master Togo
I don't remember
decides
that.
you need to get more buddy-buddy with the Kurziks and the Luxons, that they'll actually work together to defeat the world-ending threat instead of continuing to fight each other for reasons that literally nobody remembers anymore. After some more quests to make the two factions understand the power of friendship, Togo shows up again and says you should totally go with him to the Harvest Temple where Shiro killed the Emperor and ask for the help of the ancient dragon Kunavang. Since this worked out the last time you tried it, you go with Togo, only to find that Kunavang has also already been corrupted by Shiro. Don't worry though, you beat the evil right out of her. Kunavang teaches you some holy magic and tells you that Shiro's actually been working toward completing a ritual that will allow him to fully manifest in the world again, and the last component he needs for the ritual is the blood of someone from the royal line. You race back to Kainding City to protect the Emperor and arrive just as Shiro is about to kill him. Not thinking any of his plan through, Master Togo bum rushes Shiro to protect his brother and is killed. And since Togo's blood is just as good as the Emperor's, Shiro shrugs this off and completes his ritual. Since all of the work you've put into stopping him from returning is worthless, you decide to confront Shiro with the tried and true plan of combining violence and dragon magic. Using these two skills, you kill Shiro dead a second time, stopping the plague and saving Kantha.
Wow. And we're heroes once again. Okay, I honestly don't remember that at all, and I bet I did go through that. Great videos, played factions so long I didn't even know how this. Absolutely, like there probably is so much more to the story, but I don't want to linger over it for too long. Getting newfound appreciation for the Revenant and Guild Wars 2. Now I know who this Shiro Tagashi is. How is Shiro Tagashi linked with Revenant in Guild Wars 2? I see, so you got basically his stance. Okay, that makes sense. I literally stopped playing Guild Wars 1 here. I remember vividly doing those maps, but nothing beyond it. Let's take a look at Guild Wars 1. Okay, wow. So this is, holy fuck. Yeah, this confirms that I haven't played Nightfall and anything beyond it. Holy I had PL in my nickname. I don't know if you guys remember, but every time you had the ISO code of your country in your nickname, you were basically a noob. You were a 13-year-old warrior who had no identity to go by, so he just typed in his name and added the code of his country and just entered the world. Yeah, zero creativity, dude. World of Warcraft for the win, absolutely, and I learned it very quickly. But in any case, these were my characters. I remember using this warrior to farm Fishu of Voe. Wow, this is crazy, what the fuck? But in any case, I think this was my main, so let's log in. And let's see if I can go to that. Oh fuck, it's downloading. Oh, okay. Then we might as well, just watch the video. Okay, so we have Nightfall.
On the island nation of Istan off the coast of Ilona resides an order of heroes and peacekeepers.
Ilona, true.
known as the Sun Spears. The leader of the Sun Spears, Spear Marshal Cormier, comes across a dig site where all of the workers have been killed by an ancient tablet monster known as Apocrypha, which prophesies the coming of Nightfall, the return of Abaddon, and the spreading of his realm of torment across the entire world. The Sun Spears quickly discover that Varesh Asa, the leader of Korna, is both planning an assault on Istan and has taken up worship of Abaddon. The heroes of Tyria are declared Sun Spears and arrive at Kamadan, Jewel of Istan. Cormier decides that the Sun Spears should attack Korna first at their Gandhara fortress. The attack goes well at first, but then Varesh suddenly recalls all of her forces inside the central plaza. Since this is obviously a trap, Cormier decides that the Sun Spears must walk straight.
We must take the brunt of Varesh's dark magic. We must be the ones to protect Elona. Tactical genius. Okay, so this is Guild Wars 1 equivalent of Napoleon. Okay, we got it.
Into it, and you chase Varesh's forces inside. The Sun Spears are then crushed by Varesh's demon army and scatter, leaving Cormier behind like the dead weight she is. With the help of some locals, you manage to establish a base in the heart of Korna. After a few guerrilla attacks and the liberation of some Centaur and Sun Spear prisoners, you decide that you need the help of Elona's third nation, Vabi. Before you can go north to Vabi, though, you are given one last mission in Korna. You can either free Cormier or stop a demon from creating a massive drought. All the sane heroes stop the demon and then find safe passage into Vabi. You work your way into a party attended by the 3 Vabian princes to ask for their help against Varesh, but they either don't care or don't believe you. After defending Vabi from Varesh's army of Marganites, the demonic servants of Abaddon, the princes decide to join your cause. But you realize that while you were trying to get their help, Varesh had...
This reminds me of a mission in Path of Fire where when I had to convince Joko's warlords that Joko has called their armies for help, being disguised as Joko's, what you call it, the speaker, right? Or whoever, whatever the name was. You had to do the same shit, convince them, and to convince them you have to prove your worth or help them with local problems. There was one where you had to go into that flame fortress under the ground and kill the destroyers or whatever. I can't remember the details, but yeah, it reminds me of the same kind of approach, which is probably a known pattern in the lore writing, but it is what it is, you know?
Had already awoken Abaddon from his imprisonment, and nightfall had begun. Varesh's most trusted General Morgan approaches you, just now realizing that his leader is obviously evil, and offers to help your cause. He tells you that Varesh's attacks on Vabi were just a diversion, and that she is going through the desolation to the mouth of Torment, the spot where the 5 gods struck down Abaddon. After fighting through some of the Nightfall in Elona, you run into Cormier again, because of course you couldn't just leave her for dead. She has a brilliant plan. No living person has ever been able to cross the desolation on their own, but the ancient Lich Lord Palawa Joko established his bone palace right at the heart of it.
Holy shit, there's Joko already?
Cormier had a dream telling her to release Palawa Joko from his magical prison and ask for his help. Without any plan, or even any bargaining chips, you once more let loose the Scourge of Vabi, who promptly tells you to screw off and runs away. Your Centaur allies track him down in his weakened state and force him to talk to you. Since Varesh Asa is a descendant of Tarai Asa, the hero that imprisoned Palawa Joko in the first place, and since he's heading to his bone palace anyways, he decides that he will teach you how to cross the desolation. So what is this dark magic that allows one to cross the sulphurous wastes? What is the necromantic ritual that must be performed by none other than Palawa Joko himself? There are these giant worms called the Janundu in the desolation, and Joko tells you to beat the snot out of the Queen Janundu until she gives in to your demands and allows you to ride her children through the wastes.
Holy shit! This is Dune Awakening! Guild Wars 1, the true OG. Okay? They inspired many generations ahead. Of course. Thank you.
No dragon or necromancer magic needed. Just violence. You follow Palawa Joko to his bone palace, and from there approach the mouth of torment. You slay a demonic Varesh before she can complete her final ritual, but you're still too late. You must enter the realm of torment and kill Abaddon once and for all. In continuing with tradition, or facing the main threat, you decide to perform a ritual. Or rather, Cormier decides you need to perform a ritual. Cormier says that you need to find and cleanse a temple to the gods in the realm of torment, and ask for their aid in facing Abaddon. In order to cleanse this temple, you must face 2 of Abaddon's greatest servants, Vizier Kilbron and Shiro Tagachi.
Holy shit! shit.
Abaddon was the one that influenced Kilbron to turn evil, and also tricked him into sinking ore beneath the sea. He also sent a demon in the guise of a fortune teller to drive Shiro
Holy
insane.
fuck, that's
you fight
good.
the final bosses of the previous 2 campaigns at the same time and cleanse the temple. The avatars of the 5 gods appear before you and tell you how awesome it is that you're going to clean up this mess for them and pat you on the back before leaving. You proceed from the penultimate terrible idea of Cormyr's to face down Abaddon. You attack Abaddon's hands and face until he dies, leaving behind his godhood, which threatens to destroy the world. In her final ridiculous act, Cormyr decides that she is best suited to wield this power and takes Abaddon's godhood for herself, ascending as the goddess of truth and ending Nightfall.
I was talking with Joanna the other day that we should replay Guild Wars. She never played, but we should replay Guild Wars 1. And I am pissed that I dropped off right before this. I love Path of Fire in Guild Wars 2. I like the whole vibe of the desert of fire, of God of Fire, and all those corruptions and the new mounts that came with the expansion. How much is it? So you can only get Trilogy, 25 quid. It needs Intel Pentium 3, 1 gigahertz. Fuck! I don't think I can run this, guys. I'm sorry. Let's take a look at Guild Wars 1, their official website, and you can actually buy the game here. Excuse me. What? It's £18 for that game? Oh, come on, man. Okay, let's watch the Eye of the North now and see where that takes us. Because Eye of the North is in Guild Wars 2 where Jormag is. This is the Icebrood Saga part, if I remember right.
A few years after the defeat of Abaddon, earthquakes begin to plague the world of Tyria, opening fissures in the ground that are conveniently placed just outside of Lion's Arch, Kaining City, and Istan. The heroes of Tyria are called upon to enter these fissures and figure out what is causing them. Soon after entering, you stumble upon a group of dwarves led by Ogden's Stonehealer and an Asura named Vek, who are running from some monsters that they call Destroyers. The Destroyers have taken control of something called the Central Transfer Chamber, blocking your way out, but you find an alternate passage. You follow them through a strange portal to a place in the far Shiver Peaks and encounter your first Norn, a giant human-looking woman named Jorah, who tells you not to worry about her because she's hunting larger prey, which probably sounded a lot more comforting in her head than it did out loud. You follow some mountain paths north until you stumble across an immense structure of unknown origin called the Eye of the North. Here you meet a group of humans known as the Ebon Vanguard, an elite unit of Ascalonian soldiers and refugees operating behind Char lines. You also meet Gwen here, who the Tyrian heroes know as the little girl with a flute that followed you around and collected flowers. She was captured by the Char after the searing and grew into a very angry woman. Inside the Eye of the North is the Hall of Monuments, at the center of which rests the Scrying Pool, which you use to give you a vision of the Destroyers. The game then splits into 3 storylines. Ogden Stonehealer wants to gain the Norn as allies, Vek wants you to recruit the Asuran crews for their technology, and Gwen wants you to rescue some captured Ebon Vanguard. Being the hero of Tyria, you do all 3. You track down Jorah, who tells you that she is hunting the Norn Bear, which is a really vague name seeing as most Norn can turn into bears, but whatever. After chasing the Norn Bear north to his lair, Jorah explains what he is. She and her brother Svanir had gone to Drakkar Lake chasing prey, a place that the Norn believe is cursed. While there, they felt an ancient and powerful magic, unknown to them to be the influence of the Elder Dragon Jormag, and Svanir conducted a ritual to reveal the source of the curse. This was a terrible idea, and Svanir got corrupted by Jormag's magic, turning into the Norn Bear. Once the Norn Bear is defeated, you have to convince the other Norn to aid you against the Destroyers. They have individual heroes that some Norn revere and will aid if asked to. You decide to seek out the Norn hero Olafsson and ask for his help, which amounts to showing him how much fun it is to kill Destroyers, and convincing him to tell all the other Norn how much fun hunting Destroyers is too. That's how you raise a Norn army. You follow the path of the missing Ebon Vanguard troops to the east, into the Char Blood Legion homelands. You find signs of a battle, but only a handful of dead bodies, and conclude that the rest of the Vanguard must have been taken as prisoners. You mount an assault on a Char encampment, but find none of the Vanguard. You do, however, find a Char prisoner named Pyre Fierceshot. Pyre tells you that his warband disagreed with the Flame Legion's worship of the Titans, and now the Destroyers, and was marked for death and taken as prisoners, same as the Vanguard. You make a deal with Pyre. You'll help him free his warband, and in return, he'll help you find the missing Vanguard. After freeing Pyre's warband from the Cathedral of Flames, he interrogates a captured shaman who tells you that the Ebon Vanguard troops were taken south, into the Saknoth Valley. You break the stronghold in the valley, defeating the Flame Legion Hierophant and the Destroyers inside. You then free free all of the prisoners in the stronghold, human and Char alike. Gwen reunites with the Ebon Vanguard, while Pyre gives a speech to his fellow Char, telling them that the time has come to overthrow the Flame Legion and spread the word that there are no gods for the Char. You approach an Asuran council just after they have decided to pool their capabilities together and create a super weapon to defeat the destroyers and reclaim their subterranean homes. There are 2 Asura not present for this council that are necessary for the completion of the weapon: Ula, a Golemancer, and Gad, a scientist who researches magic.
They even look more stupid in those costumes.
Energies and is also Vex's father. With the help of an Asura named Blim, you find the entrance to Ula's lair, which she filled with deadly traps to keep out pesky intruders like yourself. She's initially dismissive of your request, saying that she made her lab to get away from people and not to work with them. But after you imply that she probably couldn't do it anyways, she signs on. Next, you have to find Gad. This time, you have the help of a Shining Blade member named Livia, who instantly became a fan favorite for her personality. Livia's been working with Gad, both to learn more about necromancy and to gain a potential new ally against the White Mantle, just in case you forgot that the Crichton Civil War was still a thing. She leads you to a cave containing a bloodstone, where Gad is working on a way to harvest the energies from it. But after he tries to get one of the Shining Blade members to give up their life so he doesn't have to spend some money on a proper method of containing the magic, Livia disavows both him and his work. With Gad and Ula on board, you go to Radasum to complete the genius-operated living enchanted manifestation.
Okay, quick pause. I'm lost. It's too much. And I think that's the problem with most games nowadays. They just try to tell too much. It's why people lose interest in World of Warcraft expansion lore. It's just too much, man. Why do you have to make it so complex? It's literally 3 campaigns in one. Just... Look, I loved Nightfall. It was simple. There's bad, not good. Shiro, kill him. Everybody lives, okay? Happy times. There's a god, there's a Abaddon, god, kill him, everybody's happy, good. Okay, end of story. Here, I don't know what the fuck is happening. Okay, there's Norns that didn't like the bears, so we killed the bears, and now Norns are happy. And then there's Chars, which got imprisoned or some shit, and we let them out, but there were also other prisoners, so we let them out too. And now there's some hot chick trying to do something, and there are like clown rats which don't like her, so she kicks them out or some like, what's happening? Why? Just, it's too much, man. I don't know, it's just too much.
Or Golem project. Using the experimental golems, you crush the destroyer hive and keep the new Asuran home safe. But while trying to boost the power of the last golem, Gad dies in an explosion. Returning to the Eye of the North, you are given one final vision of the Great Destroyer in the scrying pool, and Vec is able to use that vision to locate its lair, a cavern adjacent to the central transfer chamber. However, in continuing with tradition, before you can tackle the main threat, you have to perform a ritual. This time, you must travel to the heart of the Shiver Peaks to acquire a magical hammer and perform the rite of the Great Dwarf, turning the Dwarven army into immortal stone warriors. With the combined might of the Stone Dwarves, the Ebon Vanguard, the Asuran Golems, and the 5 Norn, you fight the Destroyers back to the central transfer chamber and defeat the Great Destroyer. With the Great Destroyer dead, the mind behind the Destroyer army is broken, and the Stone Dwarves drive them deep into the earth, saving Tyria from the Destroyers. For about 40 years, until Primordus wakes up and makes a bunch more.
At least they kept the name of the boss of Destroyers simple. Great Destroyer. And he probably had a boss that was Greater Destroyer, and there was also Greatest and Greatestest Destroyer. So at least I like their thinking that way. But and other than that, I don't know what happened. But yeah, so summary, okay? Destroyers got fucked because we united people, okay? Excellent. I love that storytelling. Let's take a look at the comments. I can only imagine Guild Wars 1 players discovering all the connections in Guild Wars 2. Svanir is not just some random dude that decided to worship Jormag. Could you speak faster? Just slow it down. I don't know. Shut the fuck up. Okay. Okay, this part is where the bridge happens between both Guild Wars games. Okay. Let's take a look.
There is a 250-year gap between the end of Eye of the North and the start of Guild Wars 2.
Yep.
So let's get right into it. Quick note,
Some of this may be slightly out of order chronologically. A pacifist centaur named Ventari and his human heterosexual life partner Ronin plant a magical seed they find, which begins to grow into the Pale Tree. Glint's first scion, Gleam, hatches, and the dwarven order devoted to Glint, the Brotherhood of the Dragon, defends it from destroyers. Norn seeking the power of the Norn Bear create an order known as the Sons of Svanir, giving in to Jormag's corruption and hastening his awakening. The Shining Blade win the Crichton Civil War, setting up Princess Salma as the new Queen of Kryta. The leader of the Shining Blade, Evenia, goes missing, and Livia becomes their new leader. The Shining Blade becomes an order devoted to protecting the royal line of Kryta, and a new Crichton army, known as the Seraph, take control of most military aspects. All the Mersat except one are killed by the Shining Blade. The last Mersat, Lazarus the Dire, splits his power into several aspects and flees, vowing revenge for countless generations. The Ministry of Purity is formed in Cantha, originally devoted to cleansing the land of any remaining afflicted, because seriously, we do zero cleanup after we save the world. They soon become a political force of their own, believing in security over freedom and Canthans over foreigners. Gwen gets married to a member of the Ebon Vanguard named Kieran Thackeray. King Adelburn calls the Ebon Vanguard south and establishes the stronghold of
so we have Logan Thackeray now in the game, so this must be his father?
Ebonhawk as a fortress against Char incursions in southern Ascalon. That doesn't save Ascalon, though, and the Char managed to overrun Ascalon city. In a final desperate act, King Adelburn uses his sword Magdir to unleash the Foe-Fire. The Foe-Fire kills everything around Ascalon city and turns all the humans into vengeful spirits, constantly reliving the fall of Ascalon and doomed to be reborn eternally to fight the Char. The Foe-Fire only slows the Char, though, and the Iron Legion builds a mighty fortress, the Black Citadel, on the ruins of the city of Rin, nearby Ascalon city and the Ghost armies. The Dermond Priory, a scholarly order, is established in the Shiver Peaks, and their work helps establish New Crichton as the official language of Tyria. Kala Scorchracer, Grand Cub of Pyre Fearshot, secretly trains an army of female Char to aid in the fight against their Flame Legion oppressors. She is assassinated as the Flame Legion surrenders. Primordus, Elder Dragon of Fire, awakens. His rising forces the remaining subterranean races to the surface. The last of the dwarves undergo the rite of the Great Dwarf and turn to stone. The Brotherhood of the Dragon is succeeded by the Zephyrites, a human order. Emperor Usoko, who took control of Cantha after Kisu was murdered by Shiro Tagachi, defeats the Kurziks and the Luxons and unifies Cantha, closing its borders to foreigners and purging political dissidents. Jormag, Elder Dragon of Ice, awakens. He drives the Norns south while 4 spirits of the wild give up their lives to buy them time. Ox, Owl, Wolverine, and Eagle. A Norn hero, Aesgeir Dragonrender, manages to knock loose one of Jormag's teeth. Aesgeir founds the Norn city of Holbreck in the southern Shiver Peaks and places Jormag's tooth in the center of the hunting lodge. It is said that one day a hero will emerge that will be capable of destroying Jormag's tooth, signaling to the Norn that the time has come to take back their home. Palawa Joko finishes conquering Vabi, Korna, and Istan. In his conquest, he crushes the Sun Spears and creates his own order of elite soldiers, the Mordant Crescent, from any converted or awakened Sun Spears. This also completely separates the Order of Whisperers, which is an Elonian order which aided the heroes of Tyria against Abaddon, into 2 parts, an order in Olona and an order in Kryta. Ventari dies, leaving a tablet containing his wisdom in his sanctuary near the growing Pale Tree. Zaitan, the Elder Undead Dragon, awakens. He pulls the sunken continent of Or to the surface with him when he does, turning the dead Orions into his army. This causes several areas to flood and destroys Lion's Arch. A new human capital, Divinity's Reach, is founded, and pirates begin to rebuild Lion's Arch as a pirate city. The first signs of the deep sea dragon's awakening.
Do you guys remember how cool the original Lion's Arch looked like? I just remembered that bridge with the ships. When the game launched, the Lion's Arch looked completely different. I wonder if Lion's Arch at the beginning of Guild Wars 2 looked exactly like Lion's Arch at the end of Guild Wars 1. Almost as if 250 years nothing happened to it, right? I don't know.
Appear when the Krayt and Quaggan are forced to the surface to escape it. The Pale Tree blooms, and the Sylvari Firstborn emerge from it. The Sylvari are a sentient plant people who all share a psychic link with the Pale Tree,
leaf
who
people.
they consider their mother. The psychic connection is manifested in something called the Dream, which the minds of all Sylvari exist in before they're born. In the Dream, they can gain the knowledge of the Sylvari that currently walk Tyria, communicate with the Pale Tree, and even be granted visions of the future. The Sylvari are modeled after humans because of Ronin. In the Pale Tree teaches them the wisdom of Ventari's tablet. Almost immediately after the Sylvari first appear, a second-born Sylvari named Kadern decides that the will of the Pale Tree and the teachings of Ventari are really holding the Sylvari back, and forms the Nightmare Court to rebel against them. A woman named Jenna is crowned Queen of Kryta. A multiracial guild called Destiny's Edge is formed to fight the Elder Dragons. It consists of the human Logan Thackeray, descendant of Gwen and Kieran Thackeray, a Char Blood Legion soldier, Ritlock Brimstone, who has Prince Rurik's magic sword, Sahothin, for some reason, the Norn Heiress de Galkin and her wolf companion Garm, the Sylvari Cave, and the Asura Snaf and his mentee Zoja. Kralkatorrik, the Elder Dragon of Crystal, awakens and makes a beeline for the lair of Glint, his former lieutenant. The ground beneath his flight becomes corrupted with his magic and forms the Brand. Most all living creatures in the Brand, when Kralkatorrik flies over, become his minions, called the Branded. This includes a Char warband, where all but one member, Almora Soulkeeper, becomes branded. Almora is forced to kill her corrupted warband to escape, and founds the Vigil, a military order dedicated to protecting people from, and one day defeating, the Elder Dragons. Destiny's Edge prepares to fight Kralkatorrik alongside Glint, but fails when Logan abandons them to protect Queen Jenna. Snaf and Glint both die in the attack. They also lose the weapon that Glint gave to them to defeat Kralkatorrik, the Dragon's Blood Spear. Crafted from Kralkatorrik's own blood, it is the only thing sharp enough to pierce its crystalline skin. This event destroys Destiny's Edge, with each member blaming themselves or
I saw that somewhere. Let me think. Hobbit? Smaug? That kind of thing?
someone else for their defeat. Queen Jenna begins peace negotiations with the Char, severely taking off the more radical factions within human and Char lands. So that's about everything between the two games, and now Guild Wars 2 starts. What hero could possibly fix this crumbling world? Tackle a threat as great and powerful as an Elder Dragon. Don't worry, you'll meet Traherne in the next video.
Yep. Hey, wait. Did he give any summary to the Guild Wars 2 lore? No. So these are the only videos he ever made. Thank you. No, but yeah, absolutely. Lore nerd and other things. Wow. That was quite a trip. Shit. I think I think Nightfall is probably my favorite. Oh, wow. Holy shit. I'm in. Chat, I'm in. Oh my god. I remember the numbers of health points, like 50 or 10, or if you had 100 or 200, you were a proper tank. You're unkillable. Hey, someone's alive! Oh, this is the... I think this is the PvP zone, isn't it? Wow. And you would have to go through all those skills and put together a build. Look at this. I'm just having such a flashbacks. Okay. Map. So we have... Oh, yeah, I'm in PvP zone, I can tell. Let's go to Lion's Arch and see where that's at. Yep. Please don't download the game again.